Tonight on KGW News, children among those doused with tear gas.
It was horrible. I mean, we didn't know what to do.
And tonight, people who live right next to the ICE facility describe the chaos and what it left behind. Plus, the new surveillance video that gives us a first-hand look at the moments a Border Patrol agent shot 2 people outside a Portland clinic. Then 35 quick days to fix a budget traffic jam and to perhaps find compromise.
There are significantly more projects and maintenance needs than there are resources.
How lawmakers are trying to hold ODOT more accountable for how it spends your money. And later,
I wish it was Thursday and I was already there.
Meet the local Seahawks superfan pumped for Super Bowl 60 who wears his dedication on his sleeve. But first to our top story and the fallout from a weekend steeped in tear gas and pepper spray outside Portland's ICE facility. New video shared with KGW shows what it looked like on the front lines of that protest Saturday afternoon as federal agents fired into the crowd, responding to protesters, they say, who trespassed onto government property. But there were many, including children, farther back in the group and even several stories up who felt the impact. Catherine Cook's live outside the ICE building tonight. Catherine, first of all, how's it looking right now?
David, it's very quiet out here tonight. No sign of any federal agents outside the building. And at last check, maybe 3 or 4 protesters standing quietly outside the ICE building. You can still sense traces of CS gas and pepper spray lingering in the air from this weekend. Neighbors telling us it's the most they've ever seen agents use and what they called a gross overreaction to the majority of peaceful protesters who showed up.
Yep, see, look at that.
This was the view from LaShonda Shaver's 5th floor apartment last weekend. 2 days of tear gas-filled smoke plumes rising from the ICE building across the street. The flashes show federal agents firing gas canisters from their roof in response to protesters below. LaShonda says the gas filled her home.
I was having a really hard time breathing and trying to just get air in because I was choking and coughing on tear gas.
Outside the Gray's Landing apartment building, you can see where a munition broke one neighbor's 3rd-story window. Reach Community Development, which owns the affordable housing complex, is suing the feds, hoping to stop them from using tear gas, citing residents' health and safety.
They don't seem to care that we are just trying to survive in our homes when they are using these tactics. I mean, deploying these these chemical irritants and those flashbangs right next to our home, and we are not doing anything.
We're just regular people, and we were like collateral damage to what ICE does.
Brenda Worthington watched protesters march by her building Saturday afternoon. As they passed her community room window, she couldn't believe what she saw.
Huge amounts of people, and they're throwing up. They're grasping their faces and their eyes.
Cell phone video shows a little girl among those suffering. Brenda grabbed some water from the community room kitchen, hoping to help protesters.
So I grabbed the water and opened the door, and it hit me like a brick. It burned my eyes and my throat and everything, and then I let it in, and it affected my friends that have heart conditions.
Homeland Security shared a statement explaining their response Saturday. They described more than 250 rioters violently storming the ICE facility, noting some tried to tie the vehicle gate shut with ropes and block the gate with a dumpster. They arrested 4 people for destruction of government property, failure to comply, and disorderly conduct. Which brings us back to LaShonda's apartment and a question so many neighbors are asking.
If their threat is on the ground, I don't understand why a canister of tear gas was projected 3 stories up.
Over the weekend, Portland Mayor Keith Wilson called on those who continue to work for ICE to resign. He also said the city is working to swiftly impose a fee on any federal agencies using chemical agents, an ordinance that went into effect this month. Back to you.
Now, Catherine Cook on what is thankfully a quiet South Waterfront tonight. Thanks, Catherine. Well, you know what? Speaking of immigration enforcement, tonight, new surveillance video shows the moments that led up to a shooting by a Border Patrol agent in Southeast Portland earlier this month. One that left 2 people in a pickup injured and the driver facing criminal charges. Investigative reporter Kyla Boshi gives us a closer look.
Never-before-seen video obtained by KGW shows the January 8th shooting involving U.S. Border Patrol in Southeast Portland. The video, captured by nearby security cameras, has no audio, and we've zoomed in to show the incident. According to investigators, a federal officer shot a man and a woman after the truck they were in repeatedly rammed a Border Patrol vehicle. According to court records, federal agents were conducting targeted enforcement operations when they spotted the driver, Luis Nino Moncada, and his passenger, Yorlins Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras, in southeast Portland. The video shows federal agents in 4 unmarked vehicles making a traffic stop in the parking lot of an Adventist Health medical office. Nino Moncada, driving the red truck, pulls into a parking spot. Federal officers approach. Agents say after identifying themselves, Nino Moncada backs up, ramming their unoccupied rented federal vehicle. The video shows Nino Moncada driving his truck forward and then in reverse. Several officers told investigators they were fearful for their safety. A Border Patrol agent fired 2 rounds into the driver's side window, according to investigators. After the shots were fired, Nino Moncada drove off and called 911 for help.
Kyle Laboshi reporting there. Homeland Security says Nino Moncada and Zambrano Contreras both entered the U.S. illegally from Venezuela. Zambrano Contreras pleaded guilty to entering the U.S. illegally and was sentenced to a year of probation. Nino Moncada remains behind bars while awaiting trial on charges that include aggravated assault of a federal officer. In an update tonight, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem now says all DHS field officers will be wearing body cameras in Minneapolis. That following growing calls for accountability after federal agents shot and killed 2 people. In the latest shooting, the killing of ICU nurse Alex Preddy, DHS has confirmed there is body-worn camera video, though it has not been released. Noem went on to say agents nationwide will get cameras if funding is available. All right, let's shift gears and head to the Cascades now, where skiing and riding has come to an abrupt halt at the lowest elevation resort on Mount Hood. Ski Bowl says it was forced to suspend skiing indefinitely because of the lack of snow, and some ski shops are really seeing the impact.
It's been slower. We've been down a little less than 40% of sales, but we've been doing okay. We've been holding on. Our employees are still working.
Holding on. Tubing at Ski Bowl, by the way, still a go, and lifts will still be running at Timberline and Meadow. So the big question is relief on the way for the snowpack. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, not in the near term, but in the long term, I think so. Now, let me show you what we're looking at snowfall-wise over the next week. Nothing through Saturday. Then Sunday and into Monday, 5, 6, maybe 7 inches in the Cascades. Of course, not what we need to get even close to where we should be for this time of the year. But every little bit helps, right? Look at our snowpack. Let's go back to that graphic. Actually, look at the snowpack differential between this February 1st and last February 1st. At Timberline, 38 inches right now, 110 last year, a year ago. We're only at 33% of normal right now. Back in mid-January, we're about 50% of normal, so our percentages have dropped way down. Same story at Meadows. White Pass only has 21 inches. They had about 5 feet at this time last year. Mount Rainier, 56 inches. Last year at this time, 129 inches. So all of the Cascades are hurting. Now, this is what's happening this week. I picked Oak Ridge, which is in the Cascade foothills east of Eugene. Look at this. Tomorrow and Wednesday, 70 degrees. That's the kind of warming we have in the Cascades. But there is good news in the long range. I think David will talk about that a bit later.
Glad to hear it. We do need some good news and some snow. Thanks, Matt. All right, let's switch to a live look at our Salem Sky Camera now, where lawmakers are back for the first day of the short session with lots on their plate and only 35 days at the very most to try to get it done. Alma McCarty's in the newsroom with one of their top priorities that could impact nearly all of us, transportation. Alma?
Yeah, David, legislators will be dealing with some major budget shortfalls. And as Oregonians know from the saga last session and over the summer, one of the biggest issues is, once again, transportation and filling a nearly $250 million gap in the ODOT budget.
Senate will please come to order.
Day 1 of the short session in Salem complete.
The House will come to order.
For the next 5 weeks, lawmakers will grapple with a series of issues: housing, immigration, public safety, education, and more.
At the end of the day, the only thing that we really have to do in the short session is balance the budget.
And one of the most pressing problems resurfacing at the Capitol, transportation funding, and closing a $250 million funding gap. It's something Democrats thought they'd done during the special session, but that funding was frozen with a Republican ballot challenge of several of the taxes and fees. Republicans are banking on voters shooting down those new fees and insist they can get ODOT on track without them.
There's no question that we can balance ODOT's budget with existing resources.
During a Monday night Transportation Committee meeting, senators didn't get into budget details, but did learn more about a pair of bills designed to increase accountability and transparency at the Oregon Department of Transportation.
These two accountability bills can help get everyone pedaling in the same direction, urban and rural alike, so people can trust that the basics won't be sacrificed for projects that we can't afford.
Policymakers say the first sets standards to make sure major projects actually meet the state's transportation goals, scoring those projects on criteria like safety, climate impact, and cost effectiveness. The second would establish strict oversight to improve how ODOT manages debt, budgets, and projects.
There are significantly more projects and maintenance needs than there are resources. And again, that's not profound. And when this is the case, we need a really clear system for how we spend our money based on the areas of greatest need. And the truth is, as we all know, we don't have that system.
I've reached out to both ODOT and the Oregon Transportation Commission for their take on these two bills. We haven't yet heard back. The public hearing for both of these bills will be scheduled soon. David?
Yeah, 35 days to get it done. Thanks, Helma. To new comments tonight from President Trump, which mark a stark escalation of his stance on elections. The president now suggesting the federal government take control of elections from states and counties. On a podcast interview tonight, the president saying, quote, "The Republicans should say we want to take over. We should take over the voting in at least 15 places. The Republicans ought to nationalize the voting," end quote. The statement comes as the Justice Department has sued several states, including Oregon, to force them to turn over their voter rolls. The White House did not release any further details. Developing nationally tonight, sheriff's officials and family members are searching for the mother of NBC Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. Authorities say 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was last seen Saturday night outside her home in Tucson, Arizona, and the sheriff says they found evidence at her house that makes them believe she was taken against her will.
This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack. The family wants everybody to know this isn't somebody who just wandered off.
In a statement, Savannah Guthrie thanked everyone for their messages of support, saying, "Right now, our focus remains on the safe return of our dear mom." Authorities say they're searching with helicopters, drones, infrared system teams on the ground, and canines units. Nancy Guthrie has limited mobility and relies on daily medication that authorities say she needs in order to stay alive.